Well, hello there, all you amazing people. I think I have a fever, but I'm a little bit under the weather, so please forgive me for this. But I'm bored. I need to do something else. I go mental in my brain. We are going to talk a little bit about the good old Linux again. So the premise of this is kind of like, I've talked about this a lot of times, but I'm kind of want to explain why I think Linux don't have that many users. You know, like Linux is so great, but why are all the users? Why is it only a certain group of people that are using Linux, and why has it not taken over the world when it's so great, and blah 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 blah. Go into that, and it may not come as a surprise. A lot of this is common sense, like really common sense, but sometimes, you know, you need to hear it from someone else before you actually think about it. You know, like, remember, don't put your hand on that stove. You're like, yeah, I know that, but oh yeah, you're right, I was almost about to lean against the stove because I was bored and, you know, I didn't pay attention. And I feel that's one of the problems with a lot of Linux stuff going on, is that the YouTubers, the Linux users, the FOSS developers, they don't really pay attention to the rest of the world other than Linux and FOSS, and which that's the problem. That's when you lean against the stove and you burn your hand or your elbows or whatever it is, and you need someone that states the obvious. Before that, comment, like, subscribe when you watch the video, because I may talk about something later on that you are like, why are you not talking about 100 Western, that blah 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 blah. No, don't judge a book by its cover and all that stuff. So watch the video, then comment, then like. If you want to, subscribe and all that YouTube jazzle. Go on to my Discord and you can recommend me videos, subjects of videos I should do something with, or, you know, you can have influence on what I'm doing, basically. So I got a hold of good old Microsoft Whiteboard here because, well, we use not this, but we use whiteboards at work, and it's actually a really good way of explaining stuff. And it's one of the things that I think Pirate Software actually did well, is that he actually showed and told, I have to just reply to a co-worker because, like I said, I'm sick today. But anyway, a really good example, like the, you will say, but it's not the same, but it kind of is the same. So this example, bear with me using this example, but a really good example is laptops. So again, like, I have good old whiteboard up here. So if I go up here, and let's see if I can put it in frame here. There you go. These are laptops. Yeah. But if we look at each category, and I know I'm looking over there, that's because my screen is over there. I should probably put myself... Should I move myself up here? Would that make more sense? So when I'm looking, you guys are looking with me? It probably makes more sense. These are three... Well, not three, but these, like, the... When you talk to nerds or you talk to people, they kind of put laptops into these three categories. There's the Mac, there's the Lenovo, and then there's everyone else. Like, that's how most people think about it. Why do people get into the good old Mac here? Well, it has great build quality. It has, like, the best battery life. You know, what is it, Alder Lake, or what the Lunar Lake, or what they're calling it, getting there. Snapdragons are getting there, but performance, you can't beat the M series chipset with the same battery life. They just smoke everyone when it comes to, like, rendering and blah blah, even slight gaming and stuff like that. You know, the battery life and the performance, just, you can't beat that on a Mac. And of course, you get, like, a decent OS and the garden, the ecosystem, all these things. If you have a iPhone, they talk with each other, and all of these fucking crazy shit. So for a lot of people, if we were sitting down, we put on our nerd, technical, logical hats, and we were like, well, if you spend a lot of time doing what I'm doing here, content creation, a Mac would be the logical choice. If you're a creative person, because of the OS, and, you know, a lot of creative people, if you're not an editor, but a lot of, like, photographers and, you know, advertisement people that make, like, pant leaves, and, you know, a lot of creative people actually are more on the move than you think. They don't just sit down. It's mostly, like I said, editors and animations or stuff like that, or animators that tend to sit and be stationary, or even people that do, like, creative work for games and stuff like that. But a lot of other people, they have their, you know, they need a laptop they can take with them on photo shoot, or, you know, around the world to do projects and stuff like that. Even fucking photographers, or what the fuck it's called. So again, you need all the power you can get. Great battery life, portability, an OS that helps you make that possible. All of these things, Apple fucking ticked the box. You know, the Mac Mini, or not Mac, the MacBook Air and up, they all check the box depending on how much money you want to spend and throw away on that. You know, so why the fuck are nobody, or why the fuck is every creative person not using a Mac? Why is everyone that's on the move all the time not using a Mac? And I'll get into that later. Say, oh, Lenovo. You know, that's the. If you don't like the Apple ecosystem, you're not into that. You don't like the OS. You don't like the price tag. Even though Lenovo's nowadays are probably more expensive than a lot of Apple products or Apple MacBooks. I can't speak today. Again, I'm a little bit sick because of, you know, for the same power and the same screens and stuff like that, you probably are paying more on the Lenovo side than you are on Apple. But let's say you don't like the MC, you're not into ARM, the OS, you know, all that shit. I can't a little bit with you on the OS, at least with the new one that they are making. That's one of the reasons why I moved away from macOS, but that's another video. So why do people get Lenovo? They would like be talking about the build quality again. They are like one of the best fucking build laptops out there on the Windows side. They are like the Apple or Macs of the Windows side. You know, the good old nipple. This is one thing that draws me to Lenovo's all the time. I have a MacBook Air, and I is trying to find the nipple every time I use. Like, where the fuck is the nipple? Where is it? I need the nipple. I need it. But for a lot of people, they really, really like it, and it makes a lot of sense if you're coding a lot or sitting on the keyboard a lot, because you don't have to move your hand or over to a mouse. You can just fondle the clitoris or the nipple, and you can move your mouse to some degree better than, like, you have like a 7-year-old Lenovo, and I have a current date Lenovo, and the current date Lenovo is like, oh, it's like the best nipple in the world. The old one is slow and it's not that good, but you get the idea here. And of course the keyboard. A lot of people talk about the keyboard. It's amazing on Lenovo's, and I will give them, yes, it's amazing. So why is every Windows user not running Lenovo? Again, if you want good build quality, you like to be productive, you don't want to move your hands around like you have a fucking seizure, and you like to fondle the good old little, you know, the red thing that makes the girls go, ooh, kind of thing. And you like a really good keyboard. Why do people not buy Lenovo's? When you go on to canvases and you go on stuff like that, you rarely see Lenovo's. They are really big in the corporate world, like massive in the corporate world. But they also buy them in a massive discount, and they buy like hundreds and thousands at one time. It's not uncommon for a big corporation with like thousands of employees that need, you know, for the sales force, for the economic force, engineering force. They buy 50, 100 laptops at one time. So they get a massive discount and stuff like that. And that's also why Lenovo builds. So Dell is kind of that area, and HP to some degree, but still not. So why do people buy these people over here? HP, Dell, Acer, Asus, all of these things. Well, it has the same OS as these people, as Lenovo have over here. These two here have the same shit. The price is better. The build quality, again, some are built the same, some is not the same, but the build quality is okay. You know, for most people, it's okay. And it does 99% of what Lenovo does. It does 99% of what Mac does. Yes, they make it crappier battery life. Yes, they make it crappier build quality. Yes, they have to deal with Windows versus Mac OS. But it does 99% of what they want. It's cheaper, and it's also, in a lot of instances, more readily available. I don't think I've ever seen a Lenovo. I have seen Lenovo in storefronts, but most you will see, like, if you go to we have like the Danish equivalent of Walmart and these like big warehouse stuff, malls and stuff like that. You mostly see Dell, HP, Asus, Acer in there. Lenovo is typically something you buy online, typically, because it's more catered to the business people. So why do people go with a lesser quality, without the nipple, without the clitoris, without the good keyboard, without the build quality, without the productivity amazingness for Apple? Again, I will get into that later, but let's go down a little bit and see, like, now explain why people buy a lot of the cheaper, less good laptops. Let's look at Linux versus Windows here. So again, I'm using a lot of things that people say don't necessarily agree a lot with faster, stable, more secure, because it depends on the operator of the operating system, how they set it up. But I'm just using, you know, a lot of the same talking points here. Let's make this, give this a Quay boy. What do people say about good old Linux? It's freedom! Let's go and do the fucking Mel Gibson thingy. Do whatever the fuck you want. You can swing your dead cats all over the place. You can resurrect the dead. You can talk to your grandmother that passed away 10 years ago. You can do whatever you want. You can make it your own. You can customize it till you fall. You can, like, I know people, the only thing they do with Linux is customizing it. And I mean, setting it up for a great picture. You know, it's the same kind of people that have a garden and they spend all the time in the world to make that garden look pristine. You know, they cut the grass to a certain length. They make sure there's no fucking weed. That's their hobby. They want the perfect garden. They rarely sit and enjoy it. Their enjoyment is making sure that the garden is perfect. Some Linux people are like, they just want to make the perfect desktop experience. It's fast, stable, and secure. It should be, on paper, the best OS. FreeBSD is all of these things. It just has less hardware support, less software support. It's freedom, do what you want, make it your own, fast, stable, and secure. It's exactly the same as Linux. Just you get more support on Linux with hardware and software, of course. Why the fuck do people then use this? Well, these things that I was pointing at, you can't see that, but why do people always stick with Windows? You get more apps. You get more apps people know. You get more apps that has like a legacy behind them. And I mean, they have a industry built or industry standard built around them. Like if you're going into graphical work, for example, they are like, okay, do you have a Photoshop course? Or are you a Photoshop expert? You know, we are saying Photoshop. They could mean Affinity Photo. They even could mean GIMP. But Photoshop is now a verb that we use because it's the industry standard. And it works on Windows and it works on Mac. It kind of works on Linux, but you have to do some crazy shit that you potentially could open yourself up to malware. Yes, you can get malware running things in Wine in Linux. There is plenty of videos to show that on the good old YouTube. Gaming. Linux gaming is getting there, but there are still games you can only play on Windows, and in most instances, Windows have the best gaming support. There are games that run better on Linux. Linux is getting there, don't get me wrong. But there are still, like, if you take all the games in the world, most will run better on Windows than Linux. Most. And it's kind of fast. It's not like when you're running Linux, you're like, yep, I'm driving a F1 car, and you're running FreeBSD for that matter, and then you're running Windows, you're like, holy shit, I have a horse in front of a carriage here. It's like, I'm running a Formula 1 car, it's just not the fastest Formula 1 car. It's 1 or 2% slower than anyone else, 10%, whatever it is, you know. It is kind of stable. You can make Windows more stable than Linux and FreeBSD if you know what you're doing. You can make Linux and FreeBSD more stable than Windows if you know what you're doing versus someone that don't know what they're doing. And it does 99% of the same shit that Linux and FreeBSD does. Meaning, yes, there are things you can't really easily customize or you don't have the freedom over. Everything else you can do on Mac, FreeBSD, you can do on Windows. Not everything you can do on Windows, you can do on Mac and Linux. And that's one of the biggest problems here. On Linux, because, like I said, if people want an app, they want an app. They don't want an alternative. They want an app. And I talked about this so many times. There's plenty of reasons why they want Photoshop and not GIMP, for example. Or they want Autodesk instead of FreeCAD. And the short and long is that it just makes it easier to find qualifying work. Because there's whole educational industries built up around those tools. So that means that they can hire a person that can do a high-level job right off the bat. They don't have to sit and learn FreeCAD or GIMP and all that shit. They also get paid more, of course. But it just makes it easy to find qualified workers. It makes it easy if you want to get into the industry to get qualifications so you can get a job in there, basically. Linux cannot do 99% of what Windows can do. The same with FreeBSD. It may do 100% what you want to do. But just like with gaming, if we take all of the things people do with an OS, and you even a power user only use about 5 to 10% of the capability of any OS they're using. Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever it is. If you think you're the nerdiest nerd of them all, you are only using 5 to 10% of its capabilities. This is something that's been studied to high heaven back since the 80s. And most hobbyist nerds, even fucking professionals, only use 10% of what the OS actually can do. No matter if it's in a server or a development station, whatever. So calm your titties down. You're not as fucking smart as you think you are. You're not utilizing 100% of the computer, okay? If we take all of the things that Windows can do more things and FreeBSD can't do, basically. And here's the thing. It's good enough. And it's less hassle. This is probably the 99% the same, kind of stable, kind of fast, and it's good enough and less hassle. And this good enough thing here is like this here is what kind of is the same like if you go up here. Why do people use these here? The same. Good enough. It's good enough. I can save a lot of money. I don't need the battery life. I don't need the raw horsepower. I can buy like a few gens behind. I can be a few gens behind. It's good enough for most people. Windows is more than most people need. And it's less the less hassle is something Linux can do something about, but they need to get their heads out of their asses and actually start to give people what they want instead of telling them what they think they want. And I have a little note we're going to talk about here in a bit. It's good enough. And I know you said like privacy, telemetry, and all of these things. Here's the thing. Most Linux people think other people are stupid. Most Linux people, they think that nobody knows what they know about technology and stuff like that. They do. For everyone you say that are stupid on the other side, there are thousands that are smarter than you. For every person that you say, oh, this one Windows user are so stupid because they're using Windows stuff. Like, yeah, there are thousands that are smarter than you are that are also using Windows per one person of you. Using an OS has nothing to do with your tech knowledge or how smart you are, intelligent you are, or your knowledge about technology and OS. It's not whatsoever. There are PhD holding fucking people that are inventing the latest and greatest in technology with computing and programming languages that are running Windows. Because it's good enough and it's less hassle. And that's the point. If everyone should run what was the best for a task, you would have like 3 or 4 cars. If you needed to go to work, you would have a Formula 1 car. The fastest, most efficient way of getting from A to B. If you were going to haul shit home, you would have a lorry or something like that. It is the industry standard of transporting goods from back A to C. If you're taking out the trash to the dump site, you will have a fucking garbage truck because it's the best at industry standard on how to move garbage from A to B. This is the mindset that the FOSS and Linux people have, and that's why, and they are making tools and OSs or distributions with that mindset. This is why there's no users. Because everyone else is driving a sedan, saloon car, because, yeah, it may not be a Formula 1 car, it may not be the fastest, the best for everything, but it's good enough for everything. And it's less hassle. I don't have to fucking jump cars, and I don't have to get a fucking racing license to drive to work, or like a truck certificate to drive to the garbage, dump site and stuff like that. Most people use things that are good enough for what they need us to do and the least amount of resistance. And to some degree, that also comes down to like, what if I need help? What if I need, support? Again, that's why the people tend to choose big softwares like Adobe, Autodesk, and stuff like that, because, hey, your problems, we have a support system for you. They have to pay for it, but it's there. It gives people ease of mind. Why do people drive crappy cars? Because they are cheaper to maintain. That's the debate we're going to. But in theory, they're cheaper to acquire, cheaper to maintain, and they can go to any fucking mechanic, or even hobbyist, and get it fixed and repaired. The support around second-hand car, older cars is probably bigger than newer cars because new technologies, a lot of the non-official mechanics shops don't know about those things yet, so they can repair them, or they don't have the new tools that they need to mend the car, which is something the car industry has done for fucking decades, where a new car, you need special tools so you can fix the car, because that means that people has to go to the authorized fucking mechanics, which is massive bullshit and all of that fucking shit. And another thing is, people are not that stupid that they don't think that their data and all of that shit is not being taken anywhere else. If you go and talk to anyone that's not like a nerd about certain things, like, oh, why are you using Windows data collection and telemetry? Like, yeah, but I have a credit card, they do the same fucking shit. My bank takes data about me. My shop takes data about me. My work takes data about me. How many lines of code have you done today, Billy Bob Bob Bob? You know, Google, Instagram, Twitter, or X, Snapchat. Almost anywhere you have to use an account to log in, they take data and telemetry. So in what they are saying, hey, okay, I have to give up all of these compatibility with apps, gaming, kind of fast, kind of stable, 99% of the same, and it does a lot of things Linux and FreeBSD don't do, and it's less hassle. I have to give all of that up, so at least my OS don't fuck me over and steal from me. But the second I do anything else, they do that anyway. I use this like analogy a lot of times with it. It's like getting Windows out of your life is the equivalent of saying like, I need to carry all of this water to the ocean. You have a bucket of water, and you take the smallest little cup you can find, you dip that into it, you go over to the water and you throw it into the water and say, I'm done, I carried all the water. That's how much impact moving from Windows has, or away from Windows has on your security, your privacy, etc., etc. Security and privacy is a lifestyle, it's not an OS choice. If you want to be anonymous and secure and all that fucking shit and don't want your data taken and stuff like that, get off this platform. Don't do any Google Don't use anything that requires you a login, even if you're using VPNs, because they don't fucking work. Even if you're using fake ass emails, don't work. If they want to figure out who you are, they will figure out who you are. And you still take data from you. Your behavior tells more about you than your fucking email address does, or your location does. And that's what they're interested in, is your behavior, not where you live, not your fucking email address. It's your behavior. Because your behavior is the same behind a fake name, behind a fake email, with a VPN as it is if you didn't have it. So all of this boils down to one big thing that the Linux community and Linux users really don't understand. It's nerds versus the world. Nerds think everyone else want what they want. They tend to forget that us idiots that sits and talk about this for hours and hours, we're like 0.0.0.0.0.1% of the total computer market. The rest of the world don't give a fuck about this, okay? The rest of the world don't give a fuck about what OS they're running as long as it does what they need it to do. They don't give a fuck about how much it's taking their fucking privacy away if it's the least resistant and it does what they need it to do. Nerds think everyone else is like them. The rest of the world understand that there are different people that are nerds, that are intermediates, that are hobbyists, that are professionals, and there are casuals. For nerds, everyone is a filthy casual. That's how they look at the world. There is us and them. Who is the biggest developers for FOSS? It's the hardcore nerds. Who is the biggest user of FOSS and Linux? It's hardcore nerds. Most of the time. So that means that they are in this echo chamber, where they are building shit for themselves and doing shit that makes sense for them and for themselves, by not understanding that they are now locking themselves into satisfying a customer base that is not even 1% of the market. Or if we look at it, and we are being generous here, it's about 4% of the desktop market today. I think they actually got under 4% last time I looked. This is the biggest problem. Linux users and Linux developers don't understand these concepts here. They think that if you want the best battery life and performance together, you should buy a MacBook. It's the logical choice. It's the best if you want power plus battery life. You have to go with Mac. You have to go with the M4. They don't even do that. Because proprietary software and all that shit. But they should, because that's how they think the world works. You take the best available tool for the job. Not the one you have access to, not the one that you know, not the one that do maybe not one thing the best, but everything good enough. So therefore I can use it for more tasks. No. The Linux world think that if you are at home, you should be running Linux because it's the best for, and then they will plug out some few things. And they will mention 5-10 things Linux is good at. Well, Windows is good at all the other 1,000 things. And that's the problem. If you want better things for Linux, you want better support, you want better acknowledgement, you want to expand the grip of FOSS into the development world, you need more users. More users equals more money. More people are inclined to buy software, etc., etc., etc. It means more companies are willing to spend the money supporting Linux. How do you get more people to Linux? You teach the Linux community to deal with this here. Instead of, it's running on supercomputers. Yeah, but I don't have a supercomputer at home. It's running on IoT devices. My computer's not an IoT device. It's big in the server market. My computer's not a server. You get more privacy. It don't matter in the grand scheme of privacy because I'm still logged into these thousands other fucking services that combined takes 99% of all the data being collected about me anyway. Continue, please. This is what they don't understand. And it's really, really sad and to some degree bad, if you want to get into that, because it's holding the advancement of Linux and FOSS back because they are set in that mindset. We know what's best for you. We have seen the light. You are stupid. That has never worked for any company or product ever. Not even Apple is that fucking bold. They may give the notion that they think that they know what you want, but Apple has failed more products than they have succeeded. Go look it up. And that's because they throw shit at the wall, they see what sticks, and they build on the things that sticks. Or they take what they learned and put it into another project. The Newton is the reason why we have the iPad. You probably never heard about the Newton. Go look that up. It was based in iPad before the iPad. The iPad is the reason why we have the iPhone, because they started making an iPad, and they were like, this could be a good phone, so they canned that for a while, and they made the phone. The market was not ready for an iPad yet, but they were ready for a smartphone. They have a lot of failures in there. Apple AI is the latest one, But the Linux users, if we should live by what they say, if you're just going from A to B, depending on if it's on tarmac or gravel, it's either a rally car or Formula 1 car. If you're shopping, it's at least a fucking truck. Or truck, I mean like a builder's truck, with a big fucking storage area in the back. But you should probably buy a lorry with a 6-wheeler behind you, because that's the industry standard of doing it. That's what all the professionals do. You go into the garbage dumpster to get rid of garbage. What is the industry standard for doing that? What is all the professionals doing? They're using garbage truck. Congratulations. It's probably $1 million fucking equipment you now have to buy per item. The Formula 1 costs billions, I guess. And that's just driving around. Talk about clothes. We can talk about food. We can talk about living, where you live. We can talk about the utensils that you use. The world is not about what is the best for this thing or for this job. It's about which product gives me most of what I want for most situations in a competitive price point and with less hassle. That's why you see more Dells, Asus, Acer, gaming laptops than you see raw Dell laptops. Yes, you see more Dells than HP, you see more Dells than Acer, but if you take all of these lower quality, not so good laptops, put them together, they outcompete Lenovo. Because they're all fulfilling the same market. Lenovo knows where its market is. Businesses. Apple knows where its market is. Creative professionals. Linux knows where its market is. Server development. Windows is for everything else. FreeBSD's market is more or less file storage nowadays. They already have found their place in the world. That don't mean you can't run Linux. It don't mean that you can't be happy with Linux and hate Microsoft. I'm just explaining why most people are not going to use your precious OS. Because it's more hassle. You take things away from them without adding to them. Why should they move? If you did not 100% of what Windows did, 100% the game capability, app capability, even less hassle, then they will move. 100,000%, then they will move. Just the notion that people are against GUI tools on the Linux side is a red flag saying that, just for that fact, 90% of people are not going to move. Even how much you think they should learn the terminal, we killed that in the 80s, early 90s. It's been dead for over 30 years on the consumer market. If you want Linux to succeed, it has to become a consumer OS. Congratulations trying to convince the nerds about that. See you all later. Bye-bye.